Hey, look at that! Look at that! I didn't know it was going to do that. I didn't set that up that way. But hey,
It's always different. It's always potluck when we come on for the podcast about how the shit's gonna roll out. And this, but
so
I do
true.
enjoy the little intro and
Yeah.
music and the applause. It just helps my ego, because I have a big ego. So it's just like it helps all that out. So how are you doing today, Mr. Kaufman?
Well, I mean, we had a little conversation here. You got to get the daily complaint out, right?
Yes, yes,
So, but once the daily complaint out, the rest of the day goes smooth.
yeah.
But like, it's heating up. Like, if you live in the Midwest at all, you know that we have like winter, spring, summer, fall, wind. Like it's just crazy. It's just so it's starting to get hot here already. It's going to be a little bit over 90. And man, I just cannot get. I was just telling you, like my workouts, the humidity is insane. Humidity's been relatively low here for quite a while, and I guess my body's adjusted to that. But, whew, boy, I just cannot get enough air, and
I hear you.
not enough oxygen. It's too much moisture in the air and not enough oxygen. So
Airflow. Gotta get some.
yeah,
some airflow.
feeling a little fatigued today from that workout.
Indeed, indeed.
So,
Well, we have a lot going on too. Like, we're closing on some more property next week. We got another rehab going. It's like, yeah,
yeah,
we got the new deal partners program. We already have We already have new partners coming up on the deal partners program. So yeah, there's a
yeah,
lot going on, brother.
yeah, yeah. Speaking of, I was talking to somebody last week about this. Throughout this entire 10-year career so far in real estate investing, this year is 10 years. I have done one condo, and I swore I would never do one again, ever. And this year alone, we're on number 3.
Yeah,
Next week we close on number 3. So
yeah.
I don't know. Maybe, to be very honest with you, it's you that kind of pushed me. I would have never looked at these deals. I would have never looked at them because they're condos. I'm so averse to dealing with condo associations that, but hey, you know what? They've worked out really well. I expect that the next 2 will work out extremely well. So the one we're rehabbing right now, and then the one we close on next week. So I'm actually excited about it.
Just like anything else, right? A deal is a deal, whether it's a condo, single family house, mobile home, duplex, quadplex, whatever, right? A deal's a deal.
Yep.
So yeah, we just been finding the deal so far. And actually, this one we're working on now was off the MLS.
That's crazy.
And yes, it was a deal.
It was a very good deal. Yeah, I mean, we're talking. I mean, if we want to kind of spill some of the numbers out there, this thing we picked up for $225.
$225, yeah.
Picked it up for $225, and it immediately appraised at $345, and it's totally 100% livable right now. I mean, that's off the MLS. That's crazy to me.
So yeah, we're gonna do all right, I think, and that's another partner project that we have too, right? I'm gonna plug the hell out of that partners program today. It's like everything's just gonna lead right to it. So it's just
why not? I'm gonna go ahead and throw this QR code up here for anyone that wants to check this out. But yeah, we had our first official deal partner come in. Was it last week?
2 weeks ago. I think
was it 2 weeks?
Yeah, 2 weeks ago. Before we even actually launched it officially. Yes.
Yeah. And she's a regular follower of us, of ours. Yeah. So, but yeah, I don't know. It works out well. She's as we talked about before. I think before you left, she's hilarious. I love her.
Yes.
But
she's gonna be good.
She's gonna be good.
So we're gonna go back to the great state of Texas for some. There's actually it's been a while. I used to own property down there in Texas on the Gulf Coast, and it's been many years though, So it'll be good to get back in the great state of Texas.
Yeah. I haven't closed one there in just a couple of years, I guess. Had a couple of students down there. One was down in Baytown,
Oh yeah, yeah, no,
and
right.
then
Right. Yeah.
one in Corpus Christi. Oh, and there's one in San Antonio as well. But yeah, that's an interesting place to do business, and its place is growing like crazy.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah. All right.
All
What are we
right.
doing today?
That said, what's the and just so you know too, we've been we, the old Sub Two Empire guys gotta sometimes we gotta take a little break. So we're back. We're back at it now, and this will just to be fully transparent too. This is actually being recorded, and it'll be broadcast on our normal spot. We had to do a little shuffling around due to some prior scheduling issues, and so it is what it is. But what is the topic for today's episode, Mr. Kaufman?
All right. So today we are going to we're going to keep it simple, kind of go back to basics a little bit, and we want to talk a little bit about some of the myths that you hear around myths. I've got to learn to pronunciate that better, enunciate that letter better. Um, some of the myths around real estate investing, but particularly around creative finance. Now, we've talked about this before, but I think I don't know when the last time was the last podcast was. It's got to be over a year. We talked about this,
Yeah, it's been a while.
but you still see, and I'm out here creeping in the Facebook groups. I still find people that are just, yeah, man, it's just
Trolling the groups. Yeah.
and I can't tell you how many times I will have this big long response, you know, this big long response to the post, and I'm on my phone. I'm a terrible typer on my phone anyway, but I'll have this big long response, and I'm just like, forget it, forget. I mean, like it's because it'll get me into a conversation with someone, and it'll drag on all day long, and it's like, man, I just wish I wish those people would just come out and subscribe to the channel, and maybe that's what I should tell them. I don't
Yep.
know, but
say expand your education. Check our YouTube channel out. Right.
yeah, I mean, so in fact, we just had this conversation as well before this recording about how I gotta rein in my time. I've got to. I've allowed it to slip into other people's hands, and I really have to wrangle it in. And of course, it's the busy time of the year here, so people are wanting help with things, and I'm usually happy to do it. But
people want help with deals. Hence our deal partner program.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah. So, but today we're going to talk about. We're going to give you 5 myths about creative financing, or they're not totally random. These are definitely see these pop up from time to time, basically repeatedly. So
yeah, like the top 5. Yeah, the top 5.
Top 5.
Yeah.
For sure. Yep. So,
but you just want to get started. Myth number 1.
Yeah, obviously,
for sure. Yeah, creative financing deals or creative strategies with real estate is illegal. It's illegal, Mr. Kaufman. What would you say to that?
Well, I think a lot of folks think this mainly applies to subject to, but you can talk. I guess you can talk to some other forms of creative financing, some of the seller financing stuff and lease options and all that stuff, and wraps. Like I've heard people talk about how wraps are how you do a wrap is can be done in a pretty shady way.
Yeah,
but when done correctly, now it can become illegal. Let's throw that out there, because it can become. I wouldn't say it can become illegal, but it can be structured incorrectly. So to clarify here,
and in violation of state law too. Correct. So you got to know your local law. Yeah, for sure.
100%. But just to clarify, when we're talking subject to, particularly subject to, I actually consider subject to a sort of type of seller financing, but so this will kind of fall under that umbrella.
Subtype. Yeah, you got it.
Yeah. But subject to seller financing, lease options, and wraps are 100% all legal when they are done correctly. When all the paperwork is filled out correctly, all your recordings are done correctly. When it's done correctly, none of those things are against the law at all in any state. Now, I will. I do have a little bit of an exception there. Texas is our is our exception because Texas
Yeah.
is seller financing. They have very strict guidelines in Texas. Same with
Yes.
lease options. Lease
Yeah.
options, they've
Can't
made
do
it
that. Has to be
made
a
it
rep. Yeah, it has to
yeah
be a
they've
rep.
made it nearly impossible. Well, we got some really creative ways to do some seller financing down in Texas though um, that work out really really well. In fact, I think if I had my druthers, I would say the strategy that we use down in Texas is probably what I would really like to do everywhere as far as seller financing. You know, I go out and I find a buyer, and I'm gonna sell that property to that buyer. Um, yeah, it's a very creative way, and it involves selling beneficial ownership, which is personal property, but selling it on terms, but doing that in a way that you are also protected as if you wrote a or you recorded a deed of trust and had a promissory note and accompanying promissory note. So
So you're talking about doing the transaction inside the trust, the
correct.
beneficial ownership inside the trust. Yes,
Yep.
very very creative way to do that. And then you file your UCC-1
Yeah.
to for your personal property interest, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. That can be the problem with that is like anything else. It can be a little complex, and so once the investor learns it, it's really simple. You can spit it out. You can tell anybody you want about it, but the problem comes in when you're talking to a buyer who's just not. Uh, I mean, I've experienced this many times, especially agents. If you're dealing with an agent, um, they just don't. I don't want to. I don't want to. Blanket make a blanket statement like none of them understand it, but the majority of them simply want a traditional sale, and that's it. Even if with seller financing, they want kind of a traditional sort of recording a mortgage or recording a deed of trust with a promissory note and escrow and all this stuff, which we can totally do inside the trust. It's not an issue at all. It's just what you're doing is you're asking them to learn something that is completely out of their comfort zone,
Yeah.
completely out, and so they stare at you like a deer in the headlights. And a lot of times, and I would say 50%, 60% of the time, that deal goes away, that buyer goes away because of what their their agent, if you're dealing with an agent, misrepresents to them. So yeah, that's my mission in life, though. I would love to see everyone utilize trust in a way because literally a trust can a tr- having a property in a trust can really open up doors, provide so many benefits.
and
Um,
keep your business private, right?
yeah,
So just as a quick segue to that, remember the Corporate Transparency Act has all been like all those requirements have not been enforced and imposed, and I think something was actually passed to take it down or whatever. Well, if you did all that stuff in the trust, regardless, let's assume the Corporate Transparency Act was still there and we had to report all that stuff.
right,
Well, if you did it in a trust, you don't have to report it, right? So right, it's the privacy issue that allows you to do that. But you're right, there's a big education piece there to do it. You're doing the same thing, but you're not necessarily recording it on public record. It's all private inside the trust. So you have to get that idea and that understanding around like this is our agreement and no one else's business, right?
right,
When you're talking about that stuff too. So
right.
yeah. But
Yeah,
oh, sorry, go ahead.
let's say, and regardless of the creative strategy you're using, whether it's buying or selling, the primary thing you need to be concerned with, and the emphasis lies in disclosure, transparency, and of course your documentation. Which we for subject to deals in particular, we offer sub to documents package out there. And of course, when we buy subject to, we like to sell or we like to buy properties in a trust for reasons that we just explained. And so we also have our trust documents package out there as well. That's at the Sub to Empire store. I'm not sure if I even have. Yeah, there we go. There you go.
Yeah, I got the sub two packages, and I don't know if we have a QR code for the other one. I don't see it for the trust too, but yeah, we have that. And another way that these deals are legal, two major things, right? Like title companies close them. Not all title companies, like some title companies aren't comfortable doing the subject to stuff too. but title companies close them. You just have to find the right title company, right?
Mhm.
So A, it's legal. And B, if you look at the settlement statement, which used to be called the HUD one, right? Us older guys, us older
Well, it's still available. It's still out there. There's just
veterans,
nobody uses it anymore.
yeah, it's the HUD one. Now it's just called the Alta settlement statement, right? Same thing. It has the same thing. It has a subject to line. It has a seller finance line. It has a seller carryback line. Like it's all on there. It's legal.
Yep.
Can you screw it up? Absolutely. So you need to have some understanding. You need to have the right tools in your toolbox to do it properly. But once, as you mentioned, once done properly, it is all legal in all 50 states.
Yep. Absolutely.
Myth
All
number
right.
two. You ready for myth number two, Mr. Kaufman?
Go for it.
You need a lot of money, great credit, right? Or great credit to get started.
I'm laughing at that
Did
because,
you have a lot of money when you started 10 years ago?
man, I still to this day, um, I have never. So I'm talking about personal money. I'm talking about my cash going into a deal.
Yeah.
I've never ever still to this day never put more than $8,000 into any deal, and that was like my second deal I think that I ever did. I didn't know any better. I didn't have any. Uh, I wasn't. I didn't have a network at that time. So, but yeah, I mean, personally, this real estate investing is not something that you can get into without any money. Let's be clear about that.
Yeah. You need to have something.
You need
Yeah.
to have something. I mean, I don't care what anybody says. However, getting into a lot of these creative deals, we're talking about structuring terms. And, those terms can include no money out of pocket. Absolutely, they can. I've done it numerous times. So, the idea that you have to have a bunch of money. Oh, and I love the credit piece. I love the credit piece
Oh, yeah.
because, I just for transparency, my credit has slowly declined. Just from not having a job, and I had that whole
Mm.
scam thing happen a while back, so my credit got damaged pretty bad. But to this day, to today, right now, I own something along the lines of 21, 22 subject to deals. That are all financed through where I've just taken over loans, and then I've got another 21 or 22 more doors through the apartments. But yeah, so this is definitely a myth. You do not need a ton of money to get into these deals. Um,
Now, do you need so one thing, so if you don't have a lot of capital, right? One way is to, so this is just perfect. I don't, I think he set stuff up on a tee for me sometimes and it just like swing, is just to partner with the right people.
yeah,
So, right? You may need to have capital to get into the partner program, like our Sub2 Empire Creative Deal Partners program. Like you're going to need a little capital to get in the program. But then once you're in the program, right, you partner with us and we fill in that gap, right?
yeah,
Like you're just saying, we teach you how to fill in that gap yourself. And so you don't need a lot of credit. And then after a while, right, you do a few deals and you do that, then you have the means to fill in your own gap.
yeah. And even then, you still don't need, generally speaking, you still don't need a ton of your own money to get into
No,
these deals. You just don't.
no.
Um, and that's really it's really the benefit of learning how to structure these deals. That's where that benefit really shines because um, I've always been. In fact, when I got into this business, I've told the story before. My first three deals were subject to deals, and I literally had $0 saved, nothing. I had, I had great job. I was making great money, but money came, the money went, and when it came time to jump into this business, I was so stressed out about how I was going to pay for these deals, and subject to for me was the answer to that, and it has been for many people for a really long time, for decades. So, which also should tell you that if people have been doing this for decades, then there's nothing illegal about this. So I'm kind of jumping back to number
Yeah.
one.
Yes, that's good. And also too, right? The creative strategies, like we're pretty good at doing it for many years, especially subject to the creative strategies are perfect for those that don't have a lot of money sitting in the bank. That's what they're that's how you can
Yep.
do that, right? That's perfect. I mean, if you want to go buy a rental property and get a loan through the bank, well, you're going to need 20 to 30% down to do that.
That's
Okay.
what I thought. That's
If
what
you
I thought it
take
was.
it over subject to, right, it's a whole different story, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and you get better terms. You're going to get way better terms on that subject to loan. So,
interesting.
all right.
Now the next two myths kind of go together. So I'm gonna throw them both out, and then we can blow the myths out, so to speak. Okay, so myth 3 is sellers won't agree to creative offers, creative strategies, and we're taking advantage of the sellers when we do creative deals. So sellers won't do creative deals, and then we're taking advantage of them. Like I'll just say up front before you start debunking those myths. I'll just say up front, there are charlatan and scam artists out there that are screwing over people.
Oh man,
100%, and that's in real estate. That's in banking. That's in car dealerships. Every industry has people that are screwing over people. That's because we have bad people, right?
Yeah.
So that is occurring, right? So let's not just put blinders on and think that doesn't happen. That is happening. It
I
gives
want to put some numbers to that.
with integrity bad name, doesn't it?
Yeah, I want to put some numbers to that because I just read this. There was a post out there from a recent, I think it was a recent, like a big seminar where it was reported that that up to 17% of all of these subject to deals that have been taken over the past, I think it was the past year. I have to look at the timeline again, but over the past year have defaulted. I mean, that is insane. 17%. And, I attribute that to, how do I want to say this nicely? I attribute that to this mass, kind of this, like this mass sort of attraction to subject to over the past couple of years.
Yeah.
And
everybody getting on the bandwagon and not
that's what it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
especially the wholesalers.
Yeah, I mean that's a real big problem.
Yeah.
But it is. I mean, facts are facts. I mean, you have a 17% default rate on subject to loans. That is just, I can't even fathom that. Like, I mean, that's think about all the real estate investors across the country, and then just think about the very small number of people that are actually doing subject to deals.
Right.
It's 17% of that small number is defaulting on these loans. I mean, that's unsatisfactory.
Because they don't know what they're doing.
Yeah.
They're ill prepared. And you know what we need to think about doing? We should throw this out there, right, for public consumption. If you go watch some podcasts, is we need to go in and fix those problems for those sellers. Like, the original seller, the person who's on the loan that's getting screwed.
Yeah.
We need to go. We should start a service to fix their problem.
Yeah. Hey. Yeah. Don't get my mind churning. We'll have another business here pretty soon.
I saw the twinkle. I saw the twinkle in the eye, but just as a separate item.
I just I don't know. I just gotta say, if man, and again, it does not have to be us, but you can see what's going on in the wholesale world right now with different states drafting laws and regulations against wholesaling. If we're not careful, if we don't educate ourselves correctly, and if we don't and get into deals that we know that we can afford, if we're because the big problem is, like I always say, people are doing the subject to deals just because they can, just because they've got a seller that's willing to do it, and that is the wrong attitude to take. You have to be able to. That deal has to be able to pay for itself on day one. It has to.
If you can't make the payment, can't do the deal.
Yep.
Can't make the payment, can't do the deal.
Yeah. So let's knock it off. let's let's be realistic. Heck, go out to our website, download the calculator. It's a free calculator. It's been ripped off many times. It's a free calculator. Go learn how to. We're going to send you that calculator. We're also going to send you instructions on how to use that calculator. I mean, I've gotten off on a little bit of a rant, but that is an astounding number, if you ask me. That's crazy.
Yes, but it goes along with the two myths, to bring it back to the two myths. So sellers won't do creative deals, and then we're taking advantage of them.
Yeah.
We are, if you act with integrity, honesty, and transparency with the sellers, and explain what's happening,
Mhm.
and provide the documents, right? The cover your asset documents, the CYAs. It's not only our documents, don't only just cover our assets, right? Which is what they're designed to do. We're the buyer. They also help the seller. And you have to take the time to educate the seller, right? As you say many times, and this is very true, like sub two deals are created, right? You have to educate the seller sometimes into doing that, and understand, here's the process, here's the documents, here's why these documents are important for you, and here's how we're going to do this process. And we're going to help you out because you can't afford to make this payment anymore. You don't want to go into foreclosure. You don't want that on your record, right? So we come from a point of help, right? A win-win situation. So it's a win-win-win situation. We're not trying to scam anybody, right? As you mentioned, we're trying to do it the right way. And so I think that's one of the big issues as to why you have currently in your portfolio, you have, what would you say, 22, 24?
Right around 21, 22, something like that.
Subject to deals?
Yeah.
Right. Well, why do you have so many, Mr. Kaufman? Because you tell the sellers what's happening, why it's happening, right? I mean, that's
Yeah.
really what it boils down to.
Yeah. I mean, first of all, transparency is key. I always tell people, you are getting into a long-term relationship with these folks.
Yep.
If you think it's anything other than that, you're crazy. This is why I don't think it's a good idea to wholesale subject to deals.
No.
You know, in fact, if I buy a subject to deal from a wholesaler, my very first request, it's not even a request, it's a requirement. I have to be in touch with the seller, because the sooner you can start building rapport and trust and all that good stuff with the seller. And the first thing I tell the seller is, this might work, this might not. I don't know. I have to evaluate this thing. I don't know if it's going to work or not. And just be straight up front with it, because it's true. You really don't know until you go in and evaluate the whole deal. So, but getting them to, I don't even like to use that term, getting them to agree to it. Coming to an agreement on a creative offer, I am 100%. I know this. I mean, we're a few hundred deals into a few hundred subject to deals into this thing. It's not about convincing them or giving them this sales pitch about subject to. It really has very little to do with it. In fact, I think that's probably more harmful than it is helpful. But the key to this is the trust and rapport and being likable. That's the key to it. It really is. So, I mean, yes, you want to understand their pain points. You want to be able to solve a problem for them, and even that could be something that is totally not even real estate related.
Right. For sure. Yeah.
And that is going to be, that's just one small piece of it. But the rest of it is just the whole building how do I want to say it? Sort of like a little ecosystem inside that deal, where you have a partner, because you have a partner, you have a long-term partner, and if it starts out bad, it's going to continue to go that way. Once a seller has a bad taste in their mouth about something that you've done or something that you haven't done, that tends to stick around for a very long time. And I've got a few stories. One in particular that I could tell. Maybe I'll tell it one day, and we don't have time for it today. But it's a mistake that I made. I've talked about it before on the podcast, but it's a mistake that I made really early on, and I've never forgotten this mistake. But it left a kind of a sour taste in the seller's mouth. and I still pay for it to this day. Even if that's just having it in my thoughts,
Yes.
that's taking up
It
brain space.
haunts you. Yes, haunts you to even say
Yeah, I
that.
don't need that brain space consumed by this. So
But I think though what you said is exactly right though. You are the seller is on subject to deal. The seller is allowing you to use their loan and their credit that got that loan
their name, yeah,
for the remaining term of the loan, which
yeah,
is usually 20 plus years, right? Typically, 25 plus years. And so, like you said, now, will we pay it for 25 years, or we'll buy out of it and refinance it out of it? Yeah, probably so. But still, it's going to be several years probably. And you're right. It's a relationship with the seller that you have to do. We have to make good on that. Like we don't want to damage the seller, right? That's our agreement. And so that means we make the payments, we take care of the property, we put that in buyer in there or whatever so that they don't worry about it. That's what we say. And like you said, you got to be transparent about that with the sellers. And it's not I think one of your things there too, you just like you don't convince them, you offer them options to solve the problems. I think that was such a brilliant thing. Like we shouldn't gloss over that. We're solving their problems. And maybe the best way to solve the problem is to take the property subject to.
yep,
It's
yep,
it's just that simple.
yeah. Stepping in and being the person, the expert, and being the person that they know that they can rely on. That's what sells these deals. That's what sells people on subject to. I mean, uh, there might be some, if we're talking about other creative financing strategies, some sort of seller financing or partial seller financing. Some people are actually looking for that. Like for example, me. I would love to. But I'm not a regular seller. I'm an investor type thing. But a regular, homeowner, owner occupied seller, or even a landlord who's wanting to sell um, that maybe doesn't want to cash out. Maybe they want to defer those capital gains taxes, and so some of those people are looking for that. I think people would be really, really shocked at how open people are to ideas. I've definitely run into a lot of people who, as soon as you bring up a seller finance or something, nope, nope, we just want out of it. I just want out. I want to be done with it, and that's fine. It's totally fine. That's when they get a cash offer, but a lot of people, and this depends on how you actually present this as well. But a lot of people are very open to these different creative strategies, and don't assume you would be making a grave error if you assumed that's just by somebody's body language or just by how they're speaking that they won't at least hear you out about a creative offer.
For sure.
And I think particularly on seller financing, if you can back that up with numbers and show them what their actual profit's going to be, man, that's a huge that's just a those examples for them would solidify. They often do solidify this decision to move into the seller financing world. And like you say, win win win. Everybody must win. It's got to be winning all the way around. I refuse to work with people that I that's the thing I don't like about cash offers so much, even though we have to do it.
Yeah,
It's
just yeah.
I just don't like in that type of scenario, somebody has to lose. Somebody has to lose at least a little bit,
Yeah.
and it's usually going to be the seller.
Yeah.
Hopefully, it's not the investor.
A lower amount for the for sure.
Yeah, and so that's what I don't like about the cash offer, the cash offer stuff. Um, Again, it's a necessary evil. You got to do it, but
Right. But that's what they wanted.
yeah,
You know
yeah,
what I mean? So yeah, and sometimes you're right. You can convince them. You just show them the numbers,
yeah,
right? That's going back to the calculator. Go get that calculator. Show them the numbers. The calculator will put the amortization and the whole 9 yards out there for them. Like show them the numbers if you
yeah,
need to convince them that this is really going to be better for you, even in 4, 5, 6, 8 years, whatever it is. I mean, it's
Yep.
really a better situation. But totally understand if you just
Yep.
you don't want to be done.
Yes, sir.
So myth number 5. This is we've covered this in previous podcasts, but we're just going to hit it again. The bank is going to call. This is specific to subject to. The bank is going to call the subject to note due, right? The due on sale, the dreaded due on sale clause, because we started making the payments and we've retitled the property, right? Because
Yep.
we do it at a title company, the whole 9 yards.
Yeah.
So what? Let's just say, do notes get called by the banks because of subject to deals? Yes. Has it happened to either one of us? No.
No.
Why? Because we like to think we have a system to do it properly with the paperwork to back it up, right? And so what are the big items, Mr. Kaufman, that are going to trigger that due on sale calls, and how do we address them? And I'm going to throw up our package back here too, because it's all in the package. That's sub
Well,
to.
the biggest thing, the number one thing for due on sale is like, it shouldn't even be. This covers both due on sale and just regular old home ownership, and that's making the payments.
Yeah.
If a bank, I always like to say that lenders in their ledgers, they have two columns. I'm really dumbing this down and simplifying this. They have two columns: performing and non-performing.
Yep.
If one of those notes moves from performing to non-performing, that note is likely, and it's not made current in a certain window. That note is going to be called due. So, and it's no different for your subject to deal. I mean, it's not. I mean, for obvious reasons, but because the loan's not being paid. But for a bank to just blindly call a note due because somebody else is making the payment is utter nonsense.
Yeah.
You're not going to find let me take this back. You might find
There are some.
you might find a local credit union who holds their own notes or something like that. They're probably going to be more likely to call a note due.
Yeah.
Although we've had success with those as well. I mean, it's not like they're out there scouring the ownership records of these notes, but they're smaller banks, and so they do have a little more time on their hands to go out and do the research, and really, they can call it at any time if the note changes. I'm sorry, if legal ownership changes hands, but no bank in their right mind is going to call a loan due that is performing and make it a non-performing note. No bank is going to do that. That would be silly. So I would just chill out on the due on sale thing. Stop stressing out about it. Make the payments. Number one. The second thing is, and this actually doesn't cause a note to be called, or the due on sale clause to be invoked, but that is properly structuring the insurance policy. When I first got started, I probably received, I don't know, 3 or 4 letters back from the insurance companies, because you have to get a new policy, and so the way those policies were structured, I got about 3 or 4 letters back, and basically they just said, the borrower's not listed here. You fix it and send it back. That's really all it was.
Yep.
But I have heard of on occasion where some folks have improperly set up the insurance policy, and that set off red flags. Either that's through not fixing it correctly and resubmitting it, the declarations page, or it was just one of those, like I talked before, maybe it's one of those smaller banks where they don't put up with subject to stuff. It's not, but
or actually the big institutional banks. Like the insurance is a big red flag to them because they have an entire department looking at the insurance.
Right. Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So like Bank of America and Wells Fargo and Chase and all those. So
yeah, but those are the really top two. But like I said, if you're making those payments, no, no lender in their right mind, I mean, is going to take a performing note and turn it to a non-performing note. They have investors just like we do, just like a lot of you out there do. Why would you? Why would you just all of a sudden turn the faucet off and say, okay, this note is now non-performing? Because what do they have to do then? Now they have to sell this note at a non-performing note at a discount, like more than likely, or they have to, or they have to foreclose on the property, or
with all the
you know,
legal fees and blah blah blah. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, it's a huge headache for them. So it would be just super silly.
Yep.
The only other thing I think I would say about that is, and I'll go back to the late '70s and early '80s with the when Garn Saint Germain was actually created and passed into law. That was due to, we had loans that were written at 6 and 7%. Then all of a sudden, those interest rates jumped up to what, 16, 17%.
15, 18, yeah.
So now it made sense for lenders to go, hey, let's go out and look and see who,
Yeah.
if these legal ownership has changed, and because now we can take and foreclose on that property, sell that property, offer lending on that property, but now we can do it at 17% versus 6%. So, but
Predators. We call that predatory lending.
That's predatory
and
lending.
One of the ways, right, even written into the St. Germain Act, is to put the property in a trust.
That's right. That's right.
Hey, but like, we didn't fall off the turnip truck yesterday, right? Like, there's a reason why we keep saying to use trust, right?
Yeah.
So,
for sure. Also, it's a good idea, maybe not early on. Maybe you need to, maybe you just need to feel the pain of this a little bit, but servicing your own loans. I did a lot of that myself early on. I have shifted over to using servicing companies over the past few years, just because, quite honestly, if I'm really being honest, the ease of it is so. I mean, it's just glorious. It's like I don't have to worry about the collection side of it. That the companies we use, they do the collections part of it. They do all the escrow. They do everything. It's so great.
Everything, yeah.
And it's cheap. Servicing a note is dirt cheap. It's 30, maybe $40 a month.
Yeah.
Super cheap. So, but it does help. It does help, or it can help, kind of keep those red flags from being thrown up if a servicing company is sending in payments to a lender that on a property you've taken subject to. It can help. So yeah, I think that's as far as due on sale. There's not much more out there.
Just make the payments stupid.
Just make the payments stupid. That's right.
Yeah. And make sure it has insurance.
That's right.
Properly done insurance. Yes.
That's right. Yeah. Any of you out there can do this. Anyone can do a subject to deal. It's not that difficult. Now you structuring that deal, and particularly selling that deal can get,
yes,
because you've got an underlying loan. There's some complexity there.
Yeah.
So
it has some moving parts that you need to understand, and that's why we're here.
Yep.
Right? Yep. That's why you partner with us, or you go get the sub 2 document package and the trust package, or you could just get crazy with it and partner with us, and all those documents will be included. So,
yep. What else here?
That's it. I think we're ready to wrap it. We went through the 5 myths. I think we did an appropriate job of debunking that.
Okay, so let's recap here. Myth 1: creative financing is not illegal in any form unless you are just straight up fraudulent.
Yes.
Myth number 2: you definitely you do not need a lot of money to get into buying deals creatively. You just don't. Of course, that's going to scale. That amount. We can't give you very hard to give anyone a set amount to hold back, but because that's going to scale. You might deal in our area. We have houses that you can buy for, from 80,000 is a good rental property up to $1 million. So that number is going to scale, but generally speaking, you don't need a lot of money to get into this. And credit wise, there's no requirement if you're taking property subject to or even seller, some other form of seller financing. You just don't need. They're not pulling your credit. You just have your credit becomes trust and rapport. That's what that is. Number 3, sellers won't agree to creative offers. Total baloney. These people exist. They are out there, and people agree to creative offers every single day.
You just have to present it properly and know what you're doing. Again, you have to have the right tool in your toolbox to present it properly.
That's right. That's right. But number 4, you take advantage of the seller. Well, I mean,
solving a problem is what we're doing.
Solving a problem. Always create a win-win situation. Think about their problem over yours. Real simple. And myth number 5, the subject of the due on sale clause. I mean, that should be pretty fresh in your mind, but proper paperwork, proper insurance, maybe use a servicing company, and most of all, say it, Ken. I know you want to say it.
Put it in a trust.
No. Well, yeah, that goes along with paperwork, but make the payments stupid.
Oh yeah, just make the payments. Whatever you do, just continue to make the payments, and then we can figure out something. Even if you drop the ball on something else, we can figure it out. Yeah.
Yep. All right. I think that's all I've got.
Yep, that's great. So we'll wrap it up for this week. We will see you next week, and we are. I know we've said this in the past, but we are indeed trying to line up some guest speakers. We have a couple of people bow out on us that we had lined up, but we are endeavoring to get a little, so you can get a little fresh, not just Jeff and Ken all the time, although we're delightful, I've heard, but not just us all the time. So